What's up, guys, and welcome back to another FiveM tutorial on my channel. Today in this channel, we're going to be going over a highly suggested topic for this channel. We're going to be going over how to create a custom rep system for your script. Make sure if you guys haven't already, hit that subscribe button because only 31% of you guys have subscribed. Make sure you hit that like and bell button too so you get notifications when I go live. I'm trying to stream every day, so yeah, let's get right back into the video. So in the script, you're going to need any framework, qbcore, Qbox, or ESX, the three major ones. And you're going to need to make sure you have oxlib and MySQL. And yeah, besides that, that's all you need. Everything else we're going to be going over in detail on how to set up and create. So yeah, let's get right into the video. All right, so the first thing we're going to be doing is setting up the FX manifest, which is just going to be FX_version. And we're going to do Sirlu-en. I don't usually do this part, but I thought I might as well for this tutorial. Next is game. It's gonna be GTA 5. Description, version. You don't really need those. So shared scripts, shared_scripts. We're gonna need brackets. So the first thing we're gonna need is oxlib. So we're gonna do that. We're gonna do quotes and then oxlib, ox_lib, and then we're gonna do \init .lua. That's where we do comma. So this is where it's going to be dependent on your framework. So I'm just going to paste these in. We're using Qbox, so we don't need to have the ESX one uncommented. And then we're going to have our regular config.lua. Next thing we're going to do is client_scripts, which is just this, and it's going to be just the clients, the clients, and then it's \* because we're just going to have our main one. So we'll just put .lua. The star just means it will find any file within the client folder that has a .lua backer or file type, whatever. Next is server_scripts, and then brackets. And we need to do the ox. So it's at ox MySQL \lib /MySQL.lua. Then a comma for our server. Server or we'll just do the same thing we did with client.lua. So we got our shared client server. And then let's put in our Lua 54 is yes, and then this use FX v2OAL. Yes, I actually don't really know what that does, but I always put it in anyways. So then let's refresh. So I already set this up for the video, but I wanted to test it first, to make sure it worked. So next thing we need to do is set up our SQL. So SQL, if you don't know basic SQL, it's okay. You kind of I guess you can kind of fumble around with it, but it'd be a good idea if you don't know it to maybe watch a tutorial on how SQL works. But yeah, this is not what this video is about. So we're going to do create table if not exist. We're going to create the table called, we're just going to do TW rep. I need to make sure those were backticks. So then it's going to be quotes, or parentheses, parentheses down, and you need to have a little semicolon there to end the query. So the first column is going to be citizen_ID, end it with a tilde, and it's going to be a varchar, and it's going to be max of 255, and it's going to be not null, because you don't want it to be null. Next is going to be rep. I don't know why I did that like that, but it's going to be int. It's going to be not null, default 0. And, oh, that does need a comma. We need primary key is citizen ID. Just copy that. So now that we got that query written, it's called import. So we need to import it into our database. So I just paste this in, press the plus button, and now we have it. Let me do a refresh. Now we have TW rep right here, and it's empty. So there we go. That is that. So next thing we need to do is we're going to set up our main.lua for our server, so you guys can switch back easier. I'm going to change these so you guys know which one's what up here, and it's just a little more clear for you guys. So this one is where we're going to be doing a little bit of, we're going to set up a function to get the player data based on what framework we're using. You don't need to do this. If you know, if this script is going to be going into your server alone and you know what framework it's always going to be, then you don't need to do it like this. But you should do this. If you're going to sell a script, you need to have, and you want more sales, you need to make sure it's compatible with multiple frameworks. And that's what it was about, what I want to explain on this channel. So having less framework dependencies and, being able to use multiple frameworks is a good thing. So with that being said, let's actually go to our config file and create our config. So let's do config, or set up a basic config equals, then squiggly brackets, and we're going to do config.framework equals qbx, because that's what we're doing. If you want to add this part, you can. qbx ESX. There we go. So next thing, let's go back to our server.lua and create a local function that will get our get player CID, which will get the player citizen ID, and we need a argument, so source. Next thing we need to do is local CID, initialize a value here so we can return this value but not have to type 8 different return statements. So let's do if config.framework equals qbx, then this is where we're going to get the first version, or we're going to get the first CID if our config equals qbx. So we're going to do local player equals exports dot qbx underscore core, and it's going to be a colon. It's going to be called get player, and we need to pass through source. Next thing we need to do is do CID equals player dot player data dot citizen ID. So that is the first level if our framework is equal to qbx. Next thing we do is we need a else if config dot framework equals qb. Then we're going to do something very similar but a little bit different, which makes no sense at all. So I don't know why I said that. We're going to do exports, which is we're going to do QB's version of exports. We put exports, we put QB dash core, and then we go outside of it and do a colon and do get core objects. Get core objects. Sorry guys, I'm not very familiar with QB anymore. And then we're going to do local player equals qb dot functions dot get player, and we're going to pass through not qb, we're going to pass through source, and then we're going to do cid equals player dot player data dot citizen ID. So that is it for qbcore. Next thing is ESX. If you guys aren't ESX and this doesn't work, I'm sorry. This is untested because I do not have an ESX server. So I just went through and looked at their documentation and kind of guessed that this was how it's supposed to set up. So it might not work. It might work. It's untested. So we want to do local x player equals ESX dot get player from ID, and we pass the source. And then we want to also, and then do CID equals x player dot ID. There we go. And then next thing, after all we do all that, we want to return CID. I don't know why I added all that, but there we go. So that is that function. So now this will always grab the CID for us within one function, so we don't have to type this every single time. All right, so next thing we need to set up is a callback. So we're going to need a callback to actually get the player rep. So, but the first thing, let's just go over the client and create the actual command where we're going to need this callback. So just type command and you'll get your command. Actually, you won't do that for a snippet, but just make a simple command. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make call the command get rep. So we're going to do local rep equals lib.callback dot await. I can't type await. There we go. So that's our callback is going to be in here. So now we actually need a callback. So let's create one. So we need to go into our server file and we need to do lib.callback.register. And then we're going to have the name. So it's going to be tw-rep. It's going to be server and it's going to be called get rep. And we're going to put function like that. And we put source. All right. So then we'll shorten source to like this. And the next thing we need to do is this is where we do the actual query. Or in this case, a single. So we're going to do local rep row equals my SQL dot single dot await. And then this is where our actual query is. We're going to do select. We want to get our rep. Select rep from. And then this is going to be the table. So this is going to be tw_rep. And it needs to be where. And then this is citizen_ID, where citizen ID equals question mark. So the question mark is wherever a question mark is in a query is where it's just going to fill in that question mark with some code. So the next thing we need to do is put a comma and then 2 brackets. And then we want to get player CID. And then we want to put SRC. So now this will grab the row for us. So the next thing we do is we're going to check to see if rep row is true. So, no, I almost did if. I mean a for. If rep row, if it's an actual value, then we're just going to return rep row dot rep. So we're going to return that. If it's not, then we actually need to create a table because our player doesn't have an entry yet for that value. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new event called, we're just going to do net event, and that will create that. We're going to copy this so we don't have to retype an entire name, and we're going to create rep entry. And then we're just going to pass through source. So this is where we're going to do a MySQL insert statement. So this will insert data into the row or into the table. So we're going to do MySQL dot insert dot await, and then it's going to be very similar to the this single we did up here. So we're going to insert. Is that how you insert? Yep. Insert into tw_rep because we need to know the table. And we're going to insert this citizen ID here. So it's going to be citizen_ID. So that's the value. It's going to be value. And it's going to be a question mark. And then again, it's just going to be a comma and then 2 quotes. And it's going to be get player CID. And we're going to pass through source. So that is, now it's going to do that. So if we, so if rep row is 0, then we need to trigger server event, which actually we just do trigger event. And we're going to trigger this event, create rep entry. And then we're going to pass through our source so we know what player to look for or what player to create it for. And then we're just going to return 0. Because if rep row is nothing, then that means we don't have an entry. So we're going to create an entry and then we're going to return 0. Because if we don't have an entry, then that means the rep is 0. So that if we go save and we go over here, so now we need to call this. So we need to call this callback. We're gonna put this here, and we're going to print your rep is, put 3 dots to, add some suspense, and then another 2 dots and put down rep so we can concatenate the string. And then from there, that will show us our rep. So if we go into here and we refresh, since we did a lot of changes, we ensure it and we type /get rep, we are actually going to get an error here on the server side because I think I spelled something wrong. I spelled something wrong somewhere. It's probably going to be some citizen. I spelled, so in this I spelled, in the actual query I spelled it wrong. Citizen. So all you got to do if you do something like that with the table, I usually in development I just drop it, but there is a way to just update a table. But let me just replace this and run the query, refresh the table, or refresh the whole database. Make sure it's good. You don't need to restart. I'm going to restart just to make sure, and we're going to run it again. And you see your rep is 0. And if I open up my database, refresh, you can see it's my system ID with a rep. So now let's actually create a command that will set our rep for us. So it's going to be the same thing. We're going to run a command, and this one is going to be set rep. And the function for a command, the first value is the source. We don't need the source since we're already here, so we just do an underscore, and then we do args, because that's the argument. Local new rep is going to be equal to number, because we're going to turn args into a number. It's args to 1, because if we do a command like this, say test command, and we have multiple arguments, this is argument 1, this is argument 2, this is argument 3. So each one after the space is a new argument. So we're going to set our arg to 1, or new rep to 1. So we need to make sure, it's actually there. So if new rep, we need to make sure it's, actually a number and everything. Or we need to just make sure it's a valid thing to change so we don't send nil values across. So we're going to end up triggering an event that will change it for us, but we're going to put else. We're going to print an error print here. Input invalid. So we're going to create a new event here that is going to set the rep for us. So we're going to do trigger server, or not trigger, register. I don't know why I'm doing it like this. I have a command, or I have a snippet. So we're going to do this here, where we're going to set the rep. And we're going to set rep. Let's do set player reps. No, actually up there I have set rep. In my notes I have set rep. And here we're going to do the number, which is just going to be rep. So we're going to do local src equals source. So that's how we should do that. And then let me scroll down here in my notes. So we're going to have to do a update. Well, we're actually going to need to get the rep first. So we could do another query here, or we can just do this lib.callback local rep equals lib.callback.await, and we can call this one, and then we can pass through our own source, and this should print rep. So let's do a little test here. Print rep. .rep, right? See rep row. No, it's already returning the rep. Well, actually, we probably should just do another query ourselves. So we're just going to do the exact same thing here. We're just going to copy it down, and then that's the only thing we need from there. So, and then actually, we're going to need that if rep row again just to check it. So it's kind of the same. It's kind of the same method, but also not the same. If rep row, then this is where we're actually going to set it. So we're going to do my SQL dot updates dot await, and we're going to actually, this is where our query again is going to be. So it's going to be update. We're going to update TW underscore rep. And we're going to set rep. We're going to set that to equals that first argument in the query, the function query in the squiggly brackets. I don't know what it's really called, but where citizen ID equals another question mark, and we're going to pass that through, or we're going to do a comma. We're going to do squigglies again, and it's going to be rep, and then we're going to do this, and we're going to do this same function here, and then that's how you update it. But if we try to set the rep, but we already don't have the rep, then we are just going to create a brand new entry again. So that is how that works. So if we ensure this, we do get rep. So our rep is 0, but we do set rep. We want it to be 50. It's going to set it. I don't have any prints on that one, but if I go in here and we do a refresh, it's not going to work because we never triggered the event. So make sure you guys trigger your events. Trigger server events. We just trigger that. New rep, let's do, remember it has to be new rep. That's the number we want to trigger it, or we want to set it to. Oops. And we do set rep 50. So it's going to set it. We go into here and we refresh it. See, our rep turns to 50. You can expand onto this as much as you want. You can do, one single table to handle all your rep, and you just have like an ID, like your citizen ID, and then, like a job ID or something like that. But there is a lot of things you can do to expand onto this, but this is just the bare bones, like how you do it. You should probably add some checks to make sure cheaters don't like trigger this event. So add stuff like that. Just a whole bunch of other events you can do to make this script better. But that is the bare bones of how this works. So if you guys enjoy this video, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. I will really appreciate it. And yeah, have a good rest of your day, night, morning, whatever. Peace out.